All right, it's Bill. And as I said in the beginning of the video, it's been a hot minute since I've talked to you. I didn't do leaf videos after every game. I still have been watching the Leafs, and as you can tell, some people call me Mr. Positive. No, they don't call me Mr. Positive. Again, I think this Leaf season turned on two things. First thing it turned on, because the last time I was talking to you, the Leafs were, coming back out of a 500 or very close to 500. Jake Muzzin got hurt, and he stayed hurt. That was a big, big deal. He's a terrible defenseman. The Leafs were able to replace with some cap space that was used up for his LTIR and added a player who I think is better than him in Jake McCabe. So Muzzin getting hurt was just, that was a great thing for the Leafs, and let's hope he stays hurt and we never have to see him again. And I don't care that sounds awful. I'm a Leaf fan. He can go play for another team. As long as he doesn't play for the Leafs, I'm good. But that was huge. Jake Muzzin he's an awful defenseman. It's been proven many times. I've shown you enough videos. He's terrible. That was huge. The other thing that they did, and now they've reverted back, and I don't get it, was they put Marner with Tavares, and they put Nylander with Matthews. And that kick-started them off. Now, if you go back to video 3 or 4 of this year, I said the damn same thing. So when I saw it, I went, wow, Keith, nice. Marner's got let's face facts, Tavares can't skate. It's actually embarrassing. You want to have a good laugh, just watch Tavares hit the ice and just watch him try to get to pucks. It's crazy. $11 million player who can't skate, but we'll talk about what they did in the trade deadline. Okay, keep getting people that can't skate. At the end of the day, that was a great move. Now they reverted back. I'm hoping Keith's got that in the back pocket for this series. Put Nylander with Matthews. Nylander goes straight, very fast. Matthews stays with him. Tavares don't stay with him. And I see the lines, O'Reilly ain't staying with him either. So you're taking away one of the major advantages of Nylander by putting him with slow people. Marner can do the in and out. And Marner's had a good year. You know me, I've talked about Mitchie. He's had a good year. But he can do the ins and outs and wait for players to get to positions. So, again, those are the two things that really, really started this, the resurgence. Again, Muzzin being hurt also allowed for the development of Liljegren, who I know has taken a bit of a backseat lately. And then, at the end of the day, McCabe replacing Muzzin, that's huge. But now let's get to the trade deadline. So I'm sitting here, trade deadline. Okay, you've got a team that's pretty fast, and you make your first trade for a center who can't skate. Don't we already have one of them? Don't understand the Ryan O'Reilly trade. Everyone jumping up and down. Oh, the Leafs with the great trades. I made a couple good trades. That great trade, O'Reilly? Okay, let's take a fact. He got hurt. Now, he plays better defensive positioning than Tavares, so he doesn't get caught as much because he can't skate, but the man can't skate. He's faster than Tavares, but that's like saying, I'm better looking than, I don't know, name an ugly person. It doesn't matter. You're not NHL speed. You're not NHL caliber speed. And they get him, and they pay up a lot for this, and they get Noel Acciari. And I thought to myself, you know what? Noel Acciari, I remember him from the Bruins. Okay, he might be the best player out of the trade. Okay, let's make the trade. They do. And I see this stat that Noel Acciari is like one of the top hitters in the league. Okay. The same stat also said John Tavares had thrown 100 hits. 100 hits from John Tavares? Okay. Maybe he hits the skates 100 times on one lap of the ice. But 100 hits? No. So, okay, let's say that the hits are kind of thrown, or at the stats. I've watched, I don't know how many games Acciari's played with the Leafs, maybe 20. I've seen maybe 2 good hits. Two! This guy who bangs and mucks, and I remember him against the Bruins being a pain in the ass. He doesn't play like a pain in the ass. What does he offer? I'm not as excited about Noel Acciari or Ryan O'Reilly as everyone's saying Dubas won the trades. You got slower. I'll give it a chair, at least skates, but hits? I'm waiting. Has he really drawn that many penalties? Maybe a couple. Scored a couple goals. I'm hoping O'Cherry turns it up in the playoffs. So I'll be positive on that side. He did. I've seen him in the playoffs before with the Bruins, and I recognize he was a pain in the ass to play against. So hopefully he brings that to the playoffs. And then you go get Jake McCabe. Now I will tell you, or Sam Lafferty. I'll talk about Sam Lafferty in just a second. Jake McCabe, I think I was not impressed when I first saw him, and I'm sure you were the same. The guy thought he was Bobby Orr. Now that he's settled down, and of course you settle a lot of players down with the Leafs by putting them with TJ Brodie. That makes you a lot better player. But McCabe, once he's settled down and he isn't doing the nonsense that he was doing, jumping into every rush, getting caught on 2-on-1s, he's been a decent player. And actually, I would say over the last 10 games, I've been very impressed with Jake McCabe. So I will tell you, and you get him for another year at $2 million. So Jake McCabe seems to be a trade that does make a lot of sense. Now Lafferty, the guy's played 90 games in the NHL, and I'm supposed to get excited about this. Lafferty, he fought someone, didn't really have a choice. Maybe he's thrown 5 hits. He skates fast, I'll give you that. He skates fast. I'm not impressed. The McCabe, okay, fair enough. And then we get Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn. Pretty sure the Leafs had him about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And he can't skate. So this seems to be a theme. Who's Schenn? Okay, you want to add a 7th or 8th D-man. You just got rid of Sandin, who's got skill and can skate and actually threw hits. And you bring in Schenn. Leadership? Maybe? What was he, the 7th defenseman on Tampa Bay when they won the Cup? Congratulations. I don't know. He'll hit someone if he gets there. He'll fight someone if he can get there. But do you really want to see... I'm going to ask a question with 2 minutes left in the game. Do you really want to see Luke Schenn on the ice? Do you want to see Luke Schenn in a playoff game more than 15 minutes on the ice? I didn't want to see Luke Schenn when he was 18 years old playing 20 minutes a game. I didn't want to see him then. I don't want to see him now. So basically the thought process at the trade deadline was to get slower and add people that hit who haven't hit yet. Are the Leafs a mean team? If I'm missing something, the Leafs, you've been watching the Leaf games. Do they strike you as extra mean? They're not. They didn't get meaner. Bunting was a pain in the ass. We already had pain in the ass on the team. Other than Jake McCabe replacing Muzzin, how's this team any different than last year? It's slower. That's it. Now, granted, I'll give them, they did actually pick up players that won Stanley Cups. That's a difference. You know, they didn't get Nick Foligno or whoever the hell they brought in the last couple times that hadn't won any cups. Like, Ryan O'Reilly's won a cup. I get it. Maybe he's a third-line center. I'm looking at maybe third line because Nick Paul is not a very good skater. Maybe you match him up there. But I'm hoping to God I don't see Ryan O'Reilly up against Braden Point. Braden Point must be licking his chops. Licking his chops. Like, I'm going to have a problem with this guy playing center? I would highly hope that they go up Matthews against Point. I don't want to see Tavares or O'Reilly matched up against Braden Point on the face-off. And just in case you wondered, watch the last Tampa Bay game. So here we go. We get into the playoffs. How many times? It's like getting hit over the head multiple times. You know, I show up, and I'm going to be honest with you again. I don't come off as a positive dude. I get that. Yeah, but I didn't just get this negativity on the Leafs, just something to do. I didn't wake up and say, you know what, I want to be Mr. Negative. I was actually a positive fella when I was a young kid. 92, 93 Leafs. I would have been, 15? Great series. Then you had the 93, 94. Then you even had the Pat Quinn years. Right up until 2000 and maybe 3 when they decided to go all old teams. And then when they got Matthews and they won the draft and they got Marner and they hired Mark Hunter as the scout and Shanahan cleared out everybody. You brought in Babcock. You brought in Lou Lamoriello. I was a positive person. There's probably pictures of me smiling. But I'm sorry. After 6 or 7 years of watching the team lose in the deciding game of a series, throw in a 4-1 lead, throw in a 3-1 series lead against a horrible Montreal Canadiens team when you get Winnipeg next. I don't share the same enthusiasm as I did before. I come off negative because I think there's a precedent set to be negative. What has changed about this team? Who are our best core 4 players? Marner, Matthews, Nylander. I can't even name it first. 3. 3 best players. You can't call core 4 when a guy can't skate. Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. All good players. All great regular season players. All fantastic. Now, let's take a look at the last Tampa Bay game. Let's take a look at their 3. Braden Point, Steve Stamkos, and Nikita Kucherov. And then you got Hedman on the back end, but we'll talk about that in just a sec. What does Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, and Steve Stamkos do in the playoffs that the other 3 I just mentioned don't? They crank the intensity up. Matter of fact, Nikita Kucherov will cheap shot the hell out of you. Stamkos will cheap shot the hell out of you. Point is going to give you extra shots. You tell me when Matthews, Marner, and Nylander have given an extra shot in the whistle. They crank up the intensity. I love Matthews. I love Marner. Or I don't love Marner. I like Marner's year this year. And I'm a big Willie Nylander fan. But they don't have that next level. They don't have it. They're going to outskill you. So does that skill, those 3 skilled players, do they beat Tampa Bay's 3 skilled players in skill? Yes. Do they beat him in compete level? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it once. I'm sorry. I have not seen it. Are they going to magically grow it this year? I don't think they have it in them. I know Nylander's had good playoffs before. They don't have the cheap shot, tough, dig. Think about the Leafs teams 92, 93. You had the Zezzels, you had the Andrewchucks, you had the Gilmores, you had the Clarks. Even the 98, 99 team, you had the Gary Roberts, or 2000 teams, I guess I'm going. You had the Dmitry Yuskeviches, the Danny Markovs, the tough, crazy, rack it up the intensity. You could even argue Tucker. I wasn't a big Tucker fan. This team doesn't have that. So they got to outskill everyone. And then they go trade for slow players. Oh. All right. What's going to happen in this series? Well, if you were a betting person and you took a line of the last 6 years, you'd probably go Tampa Bay in 7. The Leafs always get to the final game. They don't get taken out early. They just lose in 7. That's what they're... or, 5 when it was Columbus in the bubble. They lose in the deciding game to get to the deciding game. It's like they get your hope up. Just get your hope up as much as you can get, and then they stab you right in the back. So let's take a look at the forwards. I see that they've moved Tavares to a wing. Who said that? Oh, Bill, at the beginning of the season. Yeah, that was me. I don't mind Tavares being on the wing. He needs to be on the wing. But Ryan O'Reilly playing with him, I heard someone say, look at that second line. Tavares, O'Reilly, and Nylander. That's fantastic. I think it's garbage. I think it's a waste of Nylander's talent. That's what I think that line is. Now, Tavares can at least cheat and play forward more, because heaven forbid he skate back. He can't. By the way, how many $11 million players do you know that play on a team that's, 29 games over 500 are a minus? John Tavares has one 5-on-5 goal in the last 20 games. Oh, he's a good power play guy. Yeah, Tim Kerr was too. I don't remember him making half or $11 million. That Tavares signing will be the reason why the Leafs didn't get anywhere. You picked the wrong position and you picked the wrong guy. Anyways, first line, Bunting, Matthews, and Marner. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, last year. Tavares, O'Reilly, and Nylander. I saw two of them last year playing together. And who did they play with? Kerfoot? Who gives a flying O'Reilly they're going to play with? Okay. Third line, a Cherry, Yarncroc, and Kerfoot. I will say, I have not minded how Yarncroc plays. I'm shocked that Yarncroc's not playing on that first line. He's a digger. He reminds me a bit of Connor Brown. Ain't no Zach Hyman, by the way, who we could have kept if we didn't sign Tavares. Did I say that out loud? Bunting. Whatever. Bunting's got a bad reputation now. He's not going to draw any penalties. He's probably going to take a couple. But Kerfoot, a Cherry, Yarncroc. Tell me what the difference between that, Mikheyev, Engvall, and who did they have last year? Probably Camp. Tell me what the difference is. No difference there. They're tougher. The Chari's tougher. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that. I don't see it. I see the same Kerfoot. Your fourth line, Camp, Lafferty, and Aston Reese. Who cares? Wow, Camp's a decent. Okay, hey, I like Camp. Fourth line center, Camp, fine. Aston Reese and Lafferty. Who cares? That's not a line that's going to change the momentum of a game, is it? Maybe it is. They'll change the momentum of a game, those third and fourth lines. I look at the third line and fourth line for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I see people that might change the momentum of a game. Third and fourth lines for Leafs ain't changing anything. They're just going to go out there and try to score a goal once in a while and prevent the other team from scoring. I don't know, Belmar, Perry, and Maroon, they did the damage last year. Paul, Colton, Esimont, I don't know who Esimont is and could care less. But Colton and Paul did the damage last year. You got Hagel, Cirelli, Killorn. That's getting a lot of the friggin' Matthews line. Point, Kucherov, Stamkos, they're going up against Tavares' line. Like, you tell me. Oh, but Bill, they had way more points. Yeah, okay. You tell me that the Leafs forwards are so more dominant than the Tampa Bay forwards. Because the Tampa Bay forwards, for all of them that I've seen play with intensity, and they crank it up. The Leafs team has never cranked it up yet. Let's look at the defense. Well, the best defenseman resides on the Tampa Bay Lightning. His name is Victor Hedman and Sergachev, and they're both mean. And they play mean, and they throw cheap shots. McCabe strikes me as he might do that. He might do that. The other ones, McCabe and Brody. That's not a bad defensive pairing. That's solid. Giordano and Hall. Who had that on a dollar stamp? That I wanted Hall to be the seventh defenseman. Giordano and Hall. They've been steady, but you got to crank it up. Riley and Shen. Riley, a minus player. And Shen. I don't see how that's better. Other than missing Muzzin, which is fantastic. Like, didn't we have Labushkin last year? Labushkin's better than Shen. Didn't I have Hall, Giordano last year? Didn't I have Brody, Riley last year? So we added McCabe, okay. And then you get to the goaltending. I don't have to talk about that. Who do you want, Vasilevsky or Samsonov? Samsonov's had a fantastic year. He's one of the reasons why the Leafs turned it around too. I'm a big Samsonov fan. I like the way he's played. But he ain't the best goalie in the series. The best goalie in the series is Vasilevsky. It's not even close, actually. Now, Samsonov's had the great working at home or great record at home. Not so good on the road. And I've got to tell you, I've been really impressed with Joseph Woll, how quiet he is in the net. Let's face facts, Matt Murray's been an absolute mitigated disaster. But at the beginning of the series, at the beginning of the year, when I got on the first one, I think I chatted with you. I don't think Matt Murray's going to be the number one goalie. It'll be Samsonov. So, we go at these teams. What are the things going for the Leafs? Well, they haven't played a lot of playoff games. Their bodies should not be wore and tore up from 3 straight long playoff rounds like the Tampa Bay Lightning have. The Tampa Bay Lightning have had 2 months off in the off season for the last 3 years, while the Leafs have had plenty of time to get into shape for the next season. The way the Leafs can win this, so we take that into account. That's a pro. Pro is, I'd say home ice advantage, but that's not a pro. And let's face facts, there's going to be Leaf fans in Tampa Bay, so it's going to be nothing there. The cons, and this is the biggest con. Tampa Bay's best players will crank it up. The Leafs' best players have never cranked it up. They have to get to a new level of intensity. Matthews has to whack Sergachev on the back of the legs when the ref ain't looking. You gotta pull that nonsense. You gotta do what Kucherov did and stick your foot out and trip a guy. You gotta bang a guy in front of the net. You got to scrap. The Leafs have never done that. Tampa Bay's done that many times. So maybe, just maybe, the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be fatigued, tired, and not wanting to go through it again. Just maybe. If that's the case, the Leafs win. If not, I don't see how the Leafs win this series. It's the same old, same old. Now, I'm hoping. See, this is the crazy thing. Even me with Mr. Negative, I am going to hope that Matthews, Marner, and Nylander crank it up. I'm going to hope that Ryan O'Reilly plays better defensive center against Braden Point. I'm going to hope that Tavares stays on the wing. I'm going to hope that the Leafs get good calls from the refs, because they haven't yet. But you got to work hard to get calls. I'm going to hope that Jake McCabe is the next coming of Dmitry Yushkevich in the playoffs. I'm going to hope Samsonov plays decent net. All those are hopes. But if you told me, I'm a diehard Leaf fan, if you told me you have $50 to bet on this series, I would pick Tampa in 7. I'm a Leaf fan, so with that little hope, and the fact that there's no Tanner Jeannot, can you imagine Tanner Jeannot against the Leafs? Hopefully he stays out, but he'll replace probably Michael Eyssimont. And then you're getting Tanner Jeannot, Nick Paul, and Ross Colton against Achari Yarncroc and Kerfoot. Anyways, I will hope for Leafs in 6. I will hope. And I hope I don't go to reality. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. And just to leave it on this note, if the Leafs lose this series, I will beg, plead with anyone in the Leafs organization or anyone that would have any influence on this, that they buy out John Tavares. If they win this series too, who do you get next? I would just love to do a video about that. I'd love to have another video about how the Leafs won their first round playoffs since 2004. I'd love to do that. It's 18 years. I'd love to do this. But this team is not different than the other teams. Maybe we get luck. Cheers.